we often say here on the show, and I know I like to share these stories with you about wonderful stars of yesteryear, you know, the sort of people that we all love. We all remember going to see at the cinema, or in my case, for instance, seeing them on the small screen, on those brilliant Saturday matinees that we were all so lucky to watch in black and white, you know. And it was kind of sad when you see the golden era sort of slowly ebbing away. This particular lady, June Lockhart, 100 years, yes, not a bad innings, eh? And sadly now she's gone to the big silver screen in the sky. But what was interesting was, as many of you know, met many of these people, and I did an interview with June. I'll have to try and find it, you know, because there are so many interviews, chums, in so many areas. But I did an interview with June about her time on particular, you know, films and stuff like that. And in particular, of course, she was in Meet Me in St. Louis, which was a big hit movie way back in the middle 40s, directed by Vincente Minnelli, Liza Minnelli's father, and of course the husband at the time of the brilliant and late Judy Garland. And I just wanted to touch on that because it got me thinking about something else that happened with another Hollywood legend that is a good friend of mine, or was a good friend of mine, of course, the late and brilliant Mickey Rooney. Now, as you know, June Lockhart appeared on TV with Lassie. Now, do you know when you think, I don't know, tell me this, chums, would Lassie work today in this climate? I believe so, because I think we all love animals, and I just loved Lassie, you know, the border collie, the way that they acted, and I know there were many Lassies, but you know what I mean, it was just brilliant and it's sort of encapturing, wasn't it? You really fell for the stories. But in a modern day audience, would that work? Sort of, I don't know, love to know your thoughts on that. Have we sort of gone past that? Here's the thing though that I wanted to share with you that Mickey Rooney told me as an absolute exclusive, which I think would have worked, but sadly never came to fruition. Let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time today. Lovely to have your company. And thank you for supporting all of these history and nostalgia videos. I love making them for you because it's lovely to be able to take a bit of time away from the other news stories, share the things that I think, oh yeah, they'd enjoy that, you know, and I remember that or doing that. As you know, Mickey Rooney, incredible star, really, whichever way you look at it. I could not quite believe I became friends with him. Do you know what I mean? It was that sort of person, because we just, every time he came over to London or I was in the States, we'd just meet up. He'd tell me some wonderful stories about the golden era. And you kind of think, wow, but he made them all just exciting, you know, talking about having dinner with, you know, Clark Gable and Carol Lombard in Bel Air, and he's 19 years old, or married to Ava Gardner, and you're like, wow, you know, what was that like? One of the world's most beautiful women, you know, alongside another great British beauty that was one of, if not the one of the most beautiful women in the world, the late Dame Elizabeth Taylor. She of the violet eyes and the double eyelashes. Oh yes, yes, you see, you never forget those sort of PR spins, do you? Now, as you know, Mickey and Elizabeth starred together in Lassie films for MGM. And Mickey told me some rather strange stories about making those films, which we won't share because we're a family channel. But the thing what was interesting was he said that many years later, both he and Elizabeth were contacted by the producers of a brand new idea featuring that, you know, Lassie the Wonder Dog, as it were. And the idea really was to bring Lassie lost in London. Now, I don't know about you, so I've often wondered why I never asked this question, but how did Lassie go from being in the United States and get lost in London? But maybe that was part of the plot. But the idea this time around was to have Mickey Rooney and Elizabeth Taylor as the grandparents of the family who've got Lassie. Now, think about that. That would be an excellent idea. And I said to Mickey, well, what happened? And he said, well, they met with the producers. The story, he said, was really good, very believable. And the idea really was they'd get financing for the film because Lassie would suddenly go into big areas, you know, like maybe the Tower of London or you know, something where they could get sponsorship or deals, track deals, that sort of stuff to finance the movie. And I said, well, would it be that expensive? Surely the dog wasn't that pricey. He said, no, neither was I, but Elizabeth, you know, came with a certain cachet of fee that she required. Let's not forget, of course, chums, she wanted $1 million to star as Cleopatra. You get the picture. So the story, he said, you know, they got to the point where they had meetings and whatever, but apparently they couldn't fully get the financial backing. And Mickey's take on this was as well that it was difficult because they were both getting on. And basically, the film studio said, you know, we don't want to insure these two old people. This is the thing about age, isn't it? You can be brilliant in your mind or whatever, but Elizabeth, as you know, had quite a few ailments and stuff like that, as did Mickey. And he said he found it really sad because ultimately they both loved it. And he said, you know, they just couldn't get it because of our ages. And it was quite poignant the way he said it. And that got me thinking, as I say, looking at the sad demise of June Lockhart. And then, of course, what happened with Lassie all those years down the line. Lassie, of course, is ageless. Well, it's like us, isn't it? Absolutely. Neil Shawn, Kensington, London.